Hello everyone, this is Chakawat here, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my ranking of the inverted styles in Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. The inverted levels are a challenge new to Crash. Each level has an inverted counterpart where the map is mirrored and something else is done visually to increase the challenge. Generally, I really enjoyed this addition to the game. I will be listing these according to the dimension that they are a part of. Up at number 10, I have unfortunately put the 11th dimension. The 11th dimension uses a comic book style for its inverted levels. Along with the dotted patterns and sharp colors, whenever a box is broken or an enemy is struck, a word bubble with wham or pow or bam will show up. Though I thought this style was really creative and inspired and it sounds wonderful on paper, generally it messed with my ability to play the game successfully. The word bubbles were kind of distracting and could sometimes block important things on the screen, and the dots often mess with my depth perception. This doesn't make the levels unplayable, but I think it could have been a little easier on the eyes. 9. The Eggy Puss dimension. Traveling into the inverted levels of the Eggy Puss dimension recolors everything with oversaturated crayons, though it feels as if it is an unfinished drawing, as much of the level outside of the areas for travel is still white. The new coloring adds little in the ways of new gameplay or challenge, though it can be a major eyesore. I enjoy the pretty colors, but staring at it too long can be a bit of a strain. 8. Tranquility Falls. Tranquility Falls has, without a doubt, the easiest inverted style to visually adjust to. Everything is a creamy white color except for wood, boxes, and enemies, making them pop. Akano's spin is also very luscious against this color palette. It is actually quite a pretty style that can really make you feel the enchanting environment of the levels. However, it adds little challenge to gameplay. Overall, I think it's sweet but not that special. 7. Vermiculus Orbit. Similar to Tranquility Falls, the biggest change in the inverted levels of Vermiculus Orbit is the blue hue and sharp outlines given to the levels. Seeing as how many of the levels in this dimension are very challenging enough on their own, I appreciated the easier style that finished them. A cute little quirk that also accompanies the inverted versions are the little speech bubbles from enemies with a few emojis. It actually reminded me a little bit of the Q*bert arcade games, so mostly I think it is really cute and kinda easygoing. 6. The Snacks dimension. The inverted version in the Snacks dimension submerges all the levels underwater. I definitely think that this style is the one that makes the biggest impact on gameplay, as everything is really slowed down. Though, since many of the levels in this dimension include fast-moving platforms, that could be seen as a bit of a blessing in some cases. Visually, the levels are much darker and everything is kinda wobbly and distorted. I thought that water was an interesting choice in this dimension, seeing as how everything is so far removed from nature. 5. The Hazardous Wastes. I have a big soft spot for this dimension, so being a fan of its inverted style is no surprise. Each level is darkened, with the obstacles, boxes, architecture, and of course player characters being colorfully outlined with neon. It almost looks as if everything has been infused with glow sticks. Also, whenever a checkpoint box is broken, the level brightens up slightly. I believe that the style suits the levels perfectly, and especially enhances Stage Dive, which is Engine's boss fight. 4. Cortex Island. I found the 8-bit style used in the inverted levels for Cortex Island to be very charming. Like the comic book style, it adds an extra visual effect when boxes are broken or enemies are killed. However, unlike the comic book style, it comes as much more of a satisfying little treat than a distraction. There is also a score counter, which is awesome. The 8-bit filter doesn't meddle too much with the graphics overall, and coupled with the 8-bit music, it really feels like you're in an arcade, almost ready to meet the final boss. Sure, it's a little gimmicky, but in the best way. 3. Insanity Island. The first 2 levels of the game have, in my opinion, one of the coolest inverted styles. Making the levels super dark, it turns the Bandicoot siblings into a sonar. Each spin illuminates the level temporarily and shows red enemies, yellow boxes, and blue checkpoint boxes. I thought that it added a lovely challenge, as if you want to brighten up the level, you must spin as much as you can. It also reminded me a little of the dark levels in Crash 2, so it already felt kind of familiar. Overall, I think this style was a perfect blend of coolness and adding a substantial challenge to two of the easiest levels in the game. I was actually a little disappointed when I began the other inverted levels to see that this style was only used for 2. 2. Mosquito Marsh, a style perfectly tailored to my own interests. Diving into the inverted levels of Mosquito Marsh makes us the stars of a silent film. Each level is given a grainy black and white finish that gives it a lovely vintage feel, and the music is rearranged for piano and more muted instruments. Not only did I feel that this was wonderfully creative style, I thought that it perfectly suited the levels of Mosquito Marsh. Definitely one of the highlights of the game. And for number 1, I have chosen Salty Wharf. My absolute favorite inverted style definitely belongs to the levels in Salty Wharf. Each level becomes a blank white canvas. Attacks and breaking boxes result in explosions of paint that restore color to the surrounding areas, with checkpoint boxes making an even bigger splash. I thought that this was a rather ingenious decision for these levels, especially since there's a lot of pretty colors in them, with the water, enemies, and pirate treasure. The painting of the levels didn't add much of a challenge per se, but it made their inverted experience incredibly enjoyable. I hope you've enjoyed my list and found it helpful. If you live in the United States of America, please remember to vote. I missed the deadline, but I turned 18 like 10 days after, so I'm really pissed. So vote for me, please. Vote. Just do it. It's not, please. And remember to like and subscribe. Bye.
Do you believe in kissing, honey? You bet I do. Well, I believe in kissing, honey, when the moon is new.
So as many of you know, I am a citizen of the USA, and currently our country is suffering from a crisis at the border. Immigrants seeking asylum in the US are being detained. Families are being separated and kept in detention centers in horrible conditions. All of it is scary and horrible, and a bit hard to come to terms with. So until things start getting better, I'm placing this message at the end of all of my videos to try to use what little influence I have to bring awareness and help. There are a number of things you can do to help. One of the simplest things is to donate to Immigrant Families Together, who are fundraising money to pay the bonds of detained immigrants and also provide necessities to families such as hygiene products, food, and shelter. This organization is also looking for volunteers. You can also take direct action by calling your state's government's officials and try to make your voice heard, and also refuse to let your taxes go to fund these facilities. There are many groups online that are looking for help to make sure these people are treated like human beings and receiving the help they desperately need. Let's prove that there is still hope for humanity and help solve this crisis in the most humane way possible. Remember, showing kindness isn't political. It's just the right thing to do. Thank you.